What is going on, guys? I'm Retro Bliss here on the Retro Bliss Rewind podcast. Welcome. We're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to talk about the Atari 8-bit computer line. A lot of information to go over today, but we might have a limited panel tonight. I don't know, but right now we have Mike from Mike's Gaming Gala. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. We are expecting another person, but I think they may have some technical difficulties. But we hope to have this person on, but if not, we will move on. Now,
yeah, let me share with the audience. We invited John Gen X Grown Up, who is a big Atari 8-bit fan. Unfortunately, he had to decline. He's busy tonight. Then our Brian, BD Retro Mods, is late at work on a meeting, and then we invited Ballistic Coffee Boy. And apparently he didn't have enough coffee today because he looks like he's forgotten.
I don't think I had enough coffee either because I've been having migraines all day. But anyway, yes. But it doesn't matter because we're going to have
Who needs a Brian when you got a Mike and a Phil?
Exactly. Really? That's my point. You know, we try to be humble about it, but we just can't sometimes. You know, it's just the way things are.
I'm a Google household. I have the Google devices, so I don't talk to Alexa. Sorry, Mr.
Yeah, I'm a Siri kind of guy, but Siri
fair.
Doesn't really control too much as far as home stuff, as far as I know. But anyway, we're going to talk about the 8-bit computer line. Now, I want to start before I go over the history because Brian from BD Retro Mods, he normally goes over and does the history, and he does such a great job. I know that I'm not going to do nearly as well as he does, but before I do that, I got my first Atari 8-bit computer when I was a teenager. I got my first jobs and saved my money to get this thing. And I have a lot of nostalgia for the 8-bit computers. This was kind of something that I've been wanting to do on the channel for a little while. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started if it's okay, Mike. The Atari 8-bit computers were formerly launched as the Atari Home Computer System and in 1979 with the Atari 400 and 800. Mike's got a 400 there. He's going to show. This is one of, I think, the later models because this has actually a working keyboard instead of the membrane.
Well, the other had a working keyboard, but it was a membrane keyboard initially. And the 800 had a proper keyboard. So
yes. So both models,
this is an 800 and a 400 shell. Who knows?
Exactly. So both models have 4 joystick ports permitting up to 4 simultaneous players, but only a few games such as Mule use them all. Paddle controllers are wired in pairs, and Super Breakout supports up to 8 players on this. The graphics and sound are more advanced than most of its contemporaries at the time, and video games are a key part of the software library. The 1980 first-person space combat simulator Star Raiders is considered the platformer's killer app.
It's really good on the Atari computers.
Yes. The Atari 800 was positioned as a high-end model and the 400 as a more affordable model. The 400 has a pressure-sensitive spill-proof membrane keyboard, as we mentioned, and initially shipped with a non-upgradable 8K of RAM. The 800 has a conventional keyboard and a second cartridge slot and allows easy RAM upgrades up to 48K. The architecture is designed with 3 custom processors, easy for me to say, which provide support for sprite, smooth, multi-directional scrolling, 4-channel audio, and other features, which was good for to do back in the day for programming. It was good.
It was good back then. Mr. Posthouse says the Atari 400 that I showed actually is the Canadian Atari 561.74.
So. Okay.
He clearly knows more. Mr. Posthouse, you should be a guest.
He should be. He should be. He should be in bed. Poe, we love you. You know that. You're still not allowed to chat unless it's oh, never mind.
Don't listen to Phil. I run the chat.
Yes, he runs.
You're good.
He has to run the chat because if I'm running the chat, then Poe takes advantage. That's when he takes advantage. Okay. The 408 and the 800 were replaced by multiple computers with the same technology and different, but with a different presentation. And the 1200 XL was released in 1983 to supplant the 800. It was discontinued months later, but the industrial design was carried over to the 600 XL and the 800 XL, which were released later that same year.
So this is the 800 XL right here.
Yes, that's the one I have and the one I bought back in the day. And if you look on the side there, it only has 2 joystick ports. So these only have 2 rather than the 4. Okay. After the company was sold and reestablished, the Atari Corporation released the 65XE, which was sold as the 800XE in some European markets, and the 130XE in 1985. The XL and the XE are lighter in construction and have 2 joystick ports instead of 4, and has Atari Basic built in. Whereas the other ones, if you wanted to use Basic, you had to use a cartridge as it plugged into the unit in order to utilize the Basic programming language.
Just a second, Phil. Just a second, Phil.
Okay.
We got Thom from FujiNet down here, who is an Atari 8-bit expert. Thom, I don't know if you have access at all, but I would be happy to send you a link if you want to hop on and join us.
We would love to have you on because we do want to talk about the FujiNet. I don't have one. I want one. We were talking prior to the show.
But even like he's an expert on the Atari 8-bit computers. He could talk about that.
Why don't you, if you don't mind, you can send it to me. But you can send it to me because you may not want to show your email address. I don't mind showing my email address. retroblissgaming@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. I'll send you a link and you can jump on if you have a camera and a mic and preferably headphones if you can. If not, we should still be good.
Drunky, right. Add 20 years, unfortunately.
All right. 2 million Atari 8-bit computers were sold during its major production run between 79 and mid-85. The primary global competition came when similarly equipped Commodore 64s were introduced in August of 1982. And in 1992, the Atari Corporation officially dropped all remaining support of the 8-bit line. The goal for the 8-bit computers was, and this is a relative because what it was meant for user friendliness. Now, user friendliness now on a computer is definitely different than user friendliness was back in those days. All right, to move on, when Jack Tramiel took over, the high-end XL models were canceled for the low-end, and the low-end XLs were redesigned as XEs to save money. And then the XEGS, which was the XE game system, was launched in 87. It was basically a repackaged 65XE with a removable keyboard, and it boots to the 19.
It is. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, it boots to the 1981 port of Missile Command instead of Basic if the keyboard is disconnected.
Yes, and that is a fantastic version. And this is my favorite way to play Atari 8-bit computer games. I love this thing. It is so good.
I would love to have one. I don't have one. So Atari released their ST models of 16-bit computers in 1985. And by 1992, Atari had officially dropped all remaining support for the 8-bit line. I kind of mentioned that early on. Let me check my email real quick. See if we got I got it. All right. So, Mike, why don't you talk for just a bit while I invite him over to the.
Well, he mentioned that he has no cam.
Oh, he has no cam.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Apparently, Drunky Cheese had that Atari XE. He had mine. I don't recall buying it from Drunky Cheese, but.
Oh man, it's too bad that Tom. I guess I'm assuming Tom can't get on without a camera.
You don't need a camera. You could be audio only. But
all right. Well,
I don't want to dwell too much on it. But if he wants to join, I'm happy with audio only. I mean, to be completely honest, oh man, I did. Yeah, I'm sorry, Drunky. He's exposed me. I stole this Atari XE. But what was I going to say? Like my experience with the Atari 8-bit computers didn't start till about 2000. I was a Commodore 64 kid. And even then, like most of my game playing was on home consoles. So although I've got a lot of stuff and I've got a couple things that I can show, for me to talk about the Atari 8-bit aside from, oh, I like this game, and like Jeremiah Thomas mentioned, 4-player Asteroids is cool. To have a real expert, that was kind of our hope. And
well,
we
he
got
has the
bailed
link
on
if he
by
wants to
like
come in, even if
everybody.
it's just vocal.
Perfect.
We'd love to have him on. So,
So if
yeah.
you're able to be on, that is great. But yeah, the Atari XE is by far my favorite way to play. And as Justin mentions here, the XE light gun only came packaged with the XE computer as a as a bundle. So I guess they're very expensive now. Mine came with a light gun. The Atari light gun is pretty crappy, but hey, there is Tom.
Hey guys.
How's
Hey,
it
what's
going?
going on? Thanks for coming. We haven't got a chance to really talk pre-show about this, but we would love to get your input on all this. So feel free to jump in anytime.
Of course.
So as you were saying, Mike, what were you saying?
Oh, just that the Atari light gun is really not it looks super cool, but it really is not the best light gun out there. So it just says device is not connected. We'll get them back, I'm sure.
Okay. All right.
So you're not really missing a lot aside from a collector's item. Jeremiah does say that it was sold separately in at least some markets. I've never seen a separate light gun for sale, so I only knew of it in the bundle. But it stands to reason that because absolutely killer app for the XEGS is Bug Hunt, right?
Yeah,
it's not a very good game. But yeah, it's a nice piece of tech. It's a good thing for the collection, but
yeah, I didn't have all that. I got mine late. I don't know when and if and how you got your 8-bit stuff. I just bought mine. I got my first job, and I was done with the 2600. I mean, I was done. I was almost to the point where I was almost going to stop playing games. But then I saw that the 8-bits were for sale, which I forgot to mention. The price. I thought I had that in the. Oh yeah, I think let's see. Oh yeah, I missed this part. In 81, the 800's price was $1,050. I mean, that was in that money back then, which is equivalent to $3,600 approximately today. But by mid 83, it went down to $165.
Can you imagine
which
being
is
the
only
sucker that bought it in 81?
I'm sorry.
Can you imagine being the sucker that bought it in 81? Just
exactly. I would be.
later?
I'll be very upset. But and then the 400 was $150. But that price had went down from 300. So it was when initially it was $300. So
yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. I know that we haven't really talked about some of the peripherals like the tape drives and some of the games and things, but I had this thing, and I'm going to show it before Thomas. I see your You're on.
He's on.
Yep, I'm
Okay,
here.
I can hear you now. Okay.
I'm sorry. So just sorry. I will interrupt for a moment, but basically, I have no camera, and the only output that I actually have is for my various capture devices that I've got running machines throughout the lab here. It's suited for my YouTube content. So
Yeah,
I'll just
no
keep
worries at all.
this all unmounted here. So hopefully you guys will be okay with that.
Oh
Yeah,
no, you're
no
good.
worries.
I mean, just having you on is just an amazing thing. We weren't expecting that, but I want to get to you talking to us about the FujiNet. But before we do, I want to tell you something I know that you're familiar with that I do have, and it's called the S Drive Max.
Yes.
Now the S Drive Max, it has a slot in there for a micro SD card, and you can simulate up to 4 disk drives and a tape drive, and even a small SD card like a 8 gig, you could put more than anything that I think's ever been made for Atari 8-bit on an 8 gig
Pretty much.
micro SD card. And I have on there, and there's a link in the descriptions of our video that because we're simulcasting, by the way, this is Retro Bliss Rewind, but we're simulcasting over at Mike's Gaming Gala as well. I have a link for what's called the HomeSoft collection, and the HomeSoft collection is like a series of like 500 discs, and each disc has around 10 games, and tons of games. So if you do have access and want those, there's a link in the description. But anyway, that's what I do with it, and I do some basic programming with it, just kind of messing around. But
now, why, Phil? Why would you want that simulates 4 disk drives when you could have 4 of these massive suckers
exactly
sitting on your desk?
But those
generating
are better.
heat. You do not. I mean, it costs a lot of power to run these, but you don't need to run the furnace in the winter. You just run your system,
yeah, just open,
and you're good to go.
Keep
that
the windows
particular
shut. You're
one
good.
that I see right there, that 810 that you're holding up, that is the second revision of the 810s, and those use the tandem mechanisms. So the first revision of those drives use MPI mechs, which are very, very different. The whole reason behind that too was literally because, as it happened, the guy that was brought over to Atari to run the home computer division came from Control Data. Well, Control Data owned MPI. So they basically got those disk drives in a deal with them. Now, when Atari started to look at doing their second generation disk drives, the 1050, what ultimately became the 1050, they approached Tandon to do all of the engineering work for that. And as part of, there was kind of a side deal with that. And as part of that whole deal, Tandon got to design the 1050. They provided the TM50 mechs for the 1050, but Tandon also had an unbelievable overstock of TM100 mechs, which were the previous generation. And those were put in as part of the deal. So Atari got all that overstock to put in their 810s for bare mechs. So that's how that whole thing happened. Anyway.
Wow.
Oh, that's
interesting.
Cool.
But they were still better
drive
than this. This is all I had. I didn't have a 1050.
I have
any other type.
I don't have that model. I have a different model somewhere. But Justin here says, at least your disk drives don't release an EMP every time on boot up. If they did, you wouldn't be able to boot anything up.
The one thing you can honestly say about the engineering during that particular time, the Atari 400, 800, and their peripherals had to comply with FCC regulations at that point in time.
Yes.
Which basically resulted in them all having ridiculous amounts of shielding inside the case. Open up a 400, open up an 800, and it's just basically just this cast metal frame that acts like a gigantic Faraday cage. Now,
even early 2600s.
Yes.
If they're built like a tank, you could shoot that thing, it'd be okay.
Yes, and they had to pass FCC. All of that changed in 1981 when FCC released the Class B certifications.
I like my Justin. I like my Coleco Atom. I actually like my Coleco Atom a lot. It's my favorite way
I
to
do
play
too. Why I built the
ColecoVision.
FujiNet for it.
I just hate, and I do need to get a FujiNet for it, but I hate that the printer has to be plugged in. And I have looked it up, and I can make a bespoke power supply
Yes.
that then I can hide my printer away. And once I do that, I'll be very happy with it.
There
It was
are
a miserable failure. It was absolutely a miserable failure with a huge design flaw, but I like my Atom.
Well, I mean, all things considered with the Atom, and I'll just say this about it: fantastic engineers working on the project. I've met a good chunk of them, and I got a lot of the history behind how that was all made. The Atom was ultimately killed in production engineering because they were trying. It was kneecapped at the last second by trying to do cost cutting to keep the price down because they were having serious cost overruns. But yeah, as far as a power supply, though, there are a lot of good options there. And one of them actually comes from one of the guys that works on FujiNet with me here, Moswald, who does all our hardware designs. He's actually made a power supply board that's basically just a few inches by a few inches that plugs into a USB-C PD connector. That if you can have a power supply that provides 12 volts over USB-C, you can use one of these boards. It's teeny and tiny. So
Very
no
cool.
more hauling around that printer.
But 8-bit Atari computers.
Yeah.
So I had mentioned the FujiNet and the S Drive Max. Now I explained what the S Drive Max was, but tell us what makes the FujiNet a better option for people, because it is, in my opinion, a better option from what I can gather. But you explain to us why you think that it's the better option.
Well, in my opinion, I think it's the better option, not just because I happen to be engineering it, but it provides more drive slots for first and foremost. We have 8 drive slots that you can populate. And those 8 drive slots can actually be populated not just by local storage. So you've got the SD card storage that's also compatible with the S Drive Max. So if you've got an S Drive Max, you can take the card and just throw it into your FujiNet and it will still work as is. You've got local storage, but you also have the ability to load software directly off of the internet, directly into your machine. Your Atari doesn't know the difference. It's just streaming sectors. It doesn't care where they come from. That's the disk drive component. But it also has a virtual printer. So we emulate roughly about a dozen different printer emulations where it basically takes and simulates all of the characteristics of a given printer. You print to it. It renders out to a PDF, and you pick it up and print it on your modern printer. But you also get a modem that you can use to work with existing comms programs, so that replaces your 850 interface and your modem. But also, it has a network adapter. And the network adapter is honestly the most compelling part of the whole thing once you get past the disk, because we knew people were going to be using the disks, and we knew that was going to be the out-of-the-box experience. We've made that work as best as we can. But there's this network adapter that can take and talk to modern internet endpoints, because you've got this big honking microcontroller that is ironically hundreds of times more powerful than the computer it's connected to, doing all the heavy lifting, talking to the internet, so it can talk to HTTPS, it can do SSL, it can do all these different protocols and do all the translation and provide a nice clean IO channel to the Atari itself that you can also take and program in BASIC if you want to. We have plenty of examples of things, people just writing example programs and things, talking directly to things like Mastodon servers directly from BASIC, or writing games that take and do peer-to-peer, or, and it goes on and on and on. So the network adapter can not only take and initiate connections, but it can accept connections as well. So it goes both ways. And when you take and combine all these things together, there are a whole bunch of other small features too that you won't find anywhere else. But you take and you combine these 4 major features together, and you have what is essentially the super peripheral for your Atari 8-bit machine, which just happens to also be available for a growing number of other platforms as well.
Yes.
I have a question for you, because I know that since you're selling and distributing these, You had mentioned, and I was looking online, that it has a modem simulation for a bulletin board.
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, because I had an 8 baud, I had an 8 baud modem for my 800 XL. Okay,
He also
but
walked to school uphill both ways in the snow.
that's right, in snow 3 feet high. Anyway, this modem would still be able to connect with some of these bulletin boards that were out at the time. And I got a quick story I want to tell about this, because this is a funny one. I had a younger brother. I was 3 years older than him, and I had gotten this computer, I think, when I was around 16 or so. So he was like 13. And I found this program on a bulletin board that simulated a connection to NORAD. Okay, so it looked like, it didn't matter what button I pressed on the computer, if I hit something, it would take me to the next thing, and then it would act like I'm moving on and getting further and further into the NORAD computer system, right? And so I loaded it up, and my brother's name is Jeff. I said, "Hey Jeff, come in here, man. I think I just hacked into NORAD." So he comes in, and I'm going in, and it's let me progress through, and then finally it gets to the last thing. It goes, "This number has been traced." And it starts making all this noise on the computer and stuff, and I'm like, "Oh no, I gotta turn it off! I gotta turn it off!" And he started panicking, because I was simulating being panicked. And he runs downstairs. He goes, "Mom, Phil hacked into NORAD."
That sounds very familiar. And actually, the program that you're describing, I know exactly which one that is.
I want it.
I have.
Can you email that? Find that and email it to me if you can. I would love that.
Yes, that's actually, you can load that directly off of the apps.errata.online TNFS server. So it's there's a folder in the Atari 8-bit section called Novelties, and I actually did an adaptation of that where I just added in, while it was sending data out, it would also take and send it to the built-in SAM speech synthesizer as well. It's neat for about 30 seconds, but it just to prove that it worked. As an aside, there actually is there's a point in that program where it asks you for a password, and there actually is a very specific password you're supposed to use, and the password you're supposed to use is called Langley. You type that in, and it brings you all the way through the rest of the program. But yes,
that is so cool. I mean, since you are providing, part of the FujiNet is the modem.
Yes.
What is a good source? Because I don't have this in the description of the video, because I didn't know. What is a good source for Atari 8-bit users that have FujiNet to connect to some of these bulletin boards?
That's a good question. And off the top of my head, the best place that you can basically go is to a place called Southern Amos. And they have, among other things, a dialing directory for a whole bunch of Atari 8-bit bulletin boards that you can take and connect to using your FujiNet modem emulation. Now, it is worth noting too, as well, there's actually some overlap. There's the modem emulation, but you can also use the network adapter to do the same thing too. All of the programs that support the network adapter, like Netcat, can also be used as your terminal programs as well. So there's a bit of an interesting bit of overlap there. But yes, Southern Amos, and they have a BBS, but they also have dialing directories for a whole bunch of other bulletin board systems, many of them Atari 8-bit themed, that you can take and connect to. And from the modem perspective, you can connect to any Telnet or TCP socketed bulletin board that you can connect to, provided that you have a terminal to take and make sense of what's coming out the other end. So
so let me ask you this. Now, this isn't something that I had really planned on talking about, but I'm kind of into emulation a little bit. So do emulators just a little bit, like Altera or I think it's Atari 800 Max X, have modem simulators in them? Because I've never tried those to connect to some of these bulletin boards.
So I'll answer your question in two parts. The first part is yes, they do. They actually do, and you can either use the modem emulation inside of them, or you can also we have versions of FujiNet that can run on your PC alongside your emulators to provide the full FujiNet experience inside of Altera, inside of Atari 800, and inside of another emulator, which was recently released, a wrapping of Atari 800 called Fujisan as well.
Wow.
And
I'm learning.
Yeah.
This is my podcast, but I'm learning something. I'm so happy that you came on because this is very informative for me.
Well, we wanted to do that particular feature so that people that would want to take and develop FujiNet applications could do so inside of an emulation environment, because emulators have great debuggers. They have great programming environments. I can take and write code over here in a window and then take and bounce it directly over pretty much instantaneously and view the results, and it will work with all of the FujiNet functions. So that was one of the reasons that we did that. And we also wanted to have people who didn't have a FujiNet yet the ability to take and still use FujiNet functions.
Moving back to kind of the source thing, we got a question here from Justin Messer. He says, I'm generally a retro console gamer, but I've oft considered the idea about buying an Atari 8-bit for its games library, which we should start talking about soon, because there's some great ones. My question, are there games that are exclusive to the 800 versus the 400?
The two machines are practically the same. The only real difference is the amount of memory that you get provided with them out of the box. You can take a 400 and you can bring it all the way up to 48K, for example. So it's really not an either or. All the Atari 8-bits can pretty much run each other's software. The major break is when you get into, say, 64K and 128K and above.
And if you were, you being the extra here, maybe BCB, who finally joined us,
it might be my fault. It might be a communication.
Oh, maybe
on my part.
But maybe you guys could see. For me, so he asks, what model do you recommend? I recommend the XEGS. I think that is just the best way to play so many things. It's basic. It's an XE computer made to be kind of a console. But that may not be the recommendation from the tech experts. What do you guys think?
Well, the XEGS is nice. It's right in the middle. It's right in the middle as far as specs goes. It's got 64K of RAM, so it'll run most things. And you get this wonderful detached keyboard that you can take and pull it. You can put it on or you can pull it away if you don't need it. It looks, it has a very distinctive look to it.
It's got a Miami Vice look.
Yeah, and probably the biggest advantage if you're looking to be able to hook up to existing AV equipment. It's got RCA jacks for both audio and video directly, and you don't need to use a 5-pin DIN monitor cable to take and to break everything out.
Yeah,
and the default output, even before you do things like add a UAV or whatnot, is actually okay.
In the chat, Jeremiah Thomas is saying, and he's right. There are some games that won't work on the XEGS. So getting like an 800 XL, which was the most popular Atari 8-bit computer in terms of sales, probably your best bet. But I just like Miami Vice too much.
I'm going to stop everybody for just a minute because I didn't properly introduce Brian. Ballistic Coffee Boy is in the house.
Hello.
And hi, Brian. What's going on, man? Thanks for coming. This is probably my fault as far as
my
communication.
Fault. That's all right. I thought it was Monday, but it's Tuesday. The holiday messed me up.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
I was like, isn't that Monday? It's Monday. Is the show on? Oh my God, it's on. Oh, it's Tuesday.
You work like 2-3 jobs most of the time, so the days kind of run together. I can imagine, but it's all right. It's okay. We're glad to have you on here. The reason why I asked Brian to come on was because of his love, not only for Atari, but his experience and his collection of Atari 8-bit computers. He has quite a number of Atari computers in general. I think he even has at least one ST, if not more.
Yeah, I went down the Atari computer rabbit hole after I went down the Atari home console rabbit hole. It was probably 2021. I didn't own any Atari computers at all. And
so BCB, you're saying you've gone down a lot of holes.
Yes. A lot of rabbit holes. And
yes.
So I got into the computer line, and hey, Ted, he's an awesome guy. I went down the rabbit hole. I started watching YouTube videos. I started listening to Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast, which I implore everyone to listen to because Kay Savitz and gang is great. And I know that Tom is friends with them too. They have a great podcast. And they go over everything FujiNet, everything old school and new school with Atari computers. And that's where I learned a lot of my information from. But I started collecting them. The first one I got was the I actually got the XEGS first because in my own kind of watching YouTube videos, I was like, this one seems like it's best of both worlds, just like Mike was saying. That's the first one I actually got. And I actually remember seeing it. I remember seeing it in a computer store in the late 80s or early 90s. I can't remember. I think it was the late 80s because it was like real expensive still. And I was like a 14-year-old and I was like, oh my God, I want that so bad. I remember seeing the light gun because I had the NES at home with the light gun.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that looks so cool. But, I was 14, I couldn't afford it. And it was full price or like at least expensive. And so anyway, I got the XEGS. Then I got the 800 XL. And I love that. Then I got the 600 and the 600 XL. And then I got the 1200 XL, which is my favorite, which is back here. It's kind of like the Rolls Royce of 8-bit Atari computers. I freaking love it. It's got an LED panel. I would show you, but I would have to move my entire setup. But it's nice. It's just like a bigger version of the 800 XL, but the 800 XL is more powerful, I believe.
If I can just interrupt for 1 second, because Justin's question I've had up for a little bit. Much like the Sega Genesis or the Coleco Atom or anything, there was a connector that you could get composite video out. Oh, and Torque has said that. So not the standard is not
just composite.
Well, yes, you could get
go ahead.
Luma
and Chromas as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to also add. I actually got there are some things you can get. Now I do have a ST is it a 1040? Is that what it is? And then I actually sold my other model, which was like the lower model than that. And but yeah, I like those too. The ST is a whole other world. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole because it's expensive, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it later. But I did get this, which is a cart you can plug in and load stuff on. And then I also have an S drive back here. I'm not sure.
S Drive Max. Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, we didn't. I just want to point out we didn't boot Tom. He dropped.
Yeah, and if he wants to get back on, he's more than welcome to do that. Which, by the way, I don't know if you knew who we had on, but Tom is the one. Have you heard of a FujiNet? You know what a FujiNet is? He developed those and sells those. And so he happened to be in the chat, and so we're like, "Hey, come on, man, we'll have you on."
Come on, I don't know enough about Atari 8-bit computers.
I really have learned a lot from both of you guys tonight. So
super smart guy. He's always on the Antic podcast talking about FujiNet and computer software, hardware like that. But
did the 1200 XL have RAM issues?
It's got some issues. One of the biggest issues that it had is it has a membrane keyboard which over time stops working.
Yeah, underneath it.
So when I got mine, I'm so thankful. I have a really good friend here who's a retired engineer in our Atari group, and he used to build his own modems in the 80s. He'll tell you all about it. And really smart guy. He worked at a warehouse and would take home part by part until he made a whole modem for free, And his name's Rick. and he's so cool. But he actually took it apart, cleaned it out, fixed the membrane keyboard, and put it back together. I sat there and watched him do it. I was like, and then, but yeah, if you do that, then your key. If you there is a cleaning method to go in there and either redo it or clean it, and yeah, he just kind of cleaned it and took it out, and it works great. But he said if you don't type on it every few months, it's going to do the same thing. So you have to
Fun
type
fact,
on it for a
the
while.
800 XL has a membrane keyboard underneath as well. And the only reason I know that is because I was having keyboard issues, and I just took some I had to get in there, take it apart. But once I got to that point, I just took some Q-tips and some isopropyl alcohol and cleaned everything, and then it worked fine after that. But like you said, if you don't use it, it might continue to do that over time.
Should
He
we
actually told me
talk?
just to put a book on it every once in a while if I wanted to, just as long as it's getting some activity. So sometimes I'll turn it over sometimes. But yeah, it's my I would say stylistically, my favorite's the 1200 XL. As far as utility, I would say the XEGS. However, one thing I don't like about these older computers, I might be alone in this, is I'm a touch typer. I type like 150, 200 words a minute, but I got to have the home row with the dots. None of these computers are set up like that. It's old school. So for me, I don't type fast on them because I can't feel the G and the H or whatever. So what Rick helped me do was create some little nubs on those keys so I can touch type. So
BCB likes feeling nubs.
You know what?
So we're 41.
In that sense, yes.
We're 41 minutes in, and Mr. Postile is calling us out for not talking about the games.
Oh, so many.
Let's talk about. We did mention Star Raiders, which is a great version. We did mention the 4-player Asteroids. So if we're talking cartridges, which my collection is mostly cartridges. I've got a few discs. You can play games off of disc, obviously. And this is basic. This isn't a game. But at the top, a lot of, at least the Atari ones, and this is, my camera is really not cooperating because it's looking for my face, but they say left cartridge.
Why, but anyway.
And that is so that you could make sure you put it in. And if you look at my Atari 400 when I showed it, it says left cartridge. Like people complain that we're a dumb society now. Back in '79, everybody needed to be reminded which side it was left. But what I did for mine, so here's the main kind of, there was a few different styles, but the early one was these kind of dark brown cartridges, and then they kind of moved to these stripe ones because they're more techy. But what I did is, and this is years ago, don't ask me for them because I don't have them anymore, but I made end labels for all of my Atari thing, and I made them in the style. So this is like the dark brown, this is the silvery gray with white lines through it, so that I can have these stacked on my shelf and I can know what game is what.
Here's the XEGS. He wants to see that.
Yeah. So I was going to move through. So I've got a couple, and so XEGS,
and those are not compatible with the XL and the other ones, correct?
Are they? I think they are.
No.
Oh, they're not?
You can only play these on the XEGS.
Okay, you can only play on the SCGS.
Okay.
That's the one bad thing about
Activision made carts, and they've got this nice little grippy top. That's Pathfinder. That's a decently sought after one.
That's one of my favorite games, Kaboom.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that picture too. Look at that guy. His poor family, right?
It's almost like Danny DeVito.
Yeah, he was actually that same guy, I believe, did the commercials for Kaboom, for Activision back in the day. I believe it's the exact same guy.
Here's Uncle Al.
Uncle Al. Do you remember Uncle Al in Cincinnati?
I remember. Oh,
thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Uncle Al.
I remember
Parker Brothers.
Albano.
Of course, I had to bring out Popeye for Mr. Postile.
Which, by the way, with it being an 8-bit system, it actually, the motherboard for like the 800 models is pretty much identical to the 5200 gaming system.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yep. The architecture is
correct.
incredibly similar.
But the computers
Jeremiah-
are better because your control options are better because you can use the standard Atari joysticks
It
and paddles
depends.
and things.
Yeah, but Missile Command is better on the 5200
Yeah,
because of that joystick.
anything that needs an analog,
it
I
depends.
agree. Yeah.
Jeremiah Thomas says Kaboom is overrated on the 2600, 5200, and Atari 8-bit. I loved Kaboom as a kid.
I love it.
I kind of have to agree now. Now that I've played a lot more paddle games, I still love Kaboom, but I do think it's overrated. A lot of people say it's the best paddle game ever. I don't think it's anywhere.
It's
close.
nostalgia driven.
think it's
It's not
underrated.
quality driven. It's
I think
nostalgia
it's
driven.
underrated. I love Kaboom. I love
It's
it.
good though. I mean, if you're having fun with it, that's all that matters.
I like it, but I do think it's got like this mythos around it where maybe not entirely deserved.
I like the computer version of it because it plays the classical, music.
Yeah. Wizard of War. This is from the Rockland Corporation. Alphabet Zoo. I'm not even sure.
I've got that
Some
one
of
too.
these I just this is from Spinnaker Software. So this is manufactured in the UK, soccer. And they call it soccer, even though it was manufactured in the UK. They're trying to get that American market, clearly. And this is also from the UK, Thorn EMI Video Orcatech. I just brought a few of my cartridges in here. I brought Miner 2049er. This is quite a good version of Miner 2049er.
Yep.
For Casey, the Intellivision Gamer, baseball. This is the in-home baseball. Pit Stop from Epix.
Yeah.
Here's another version of Miner 2049er, but this is like a silver label. And of course, Dig Dug. There's lots of fantastic, and quite often the 8-bit version of the game is the best version of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My favorite
agreed.
alpha recently is Grid Runner by Jeff Minter. I love this game. It is so cool. And then Zenji. It's kind of rare. And then I got Springer by Television to review on my channel. This was hard to find. And the Mr. Cool by Sarah, which is kind of like Hubert. I really like Mr. Cool. So those are some of the rare ones I've gotten recently.
I have. So Torque mentions here that it was the only version of Donkey Kong that had all the levels and followed the actual rules and game mechanics properly. I have Donkey Kong back there on my shelf, and Blue Max.
Yeah,
I really like Blue Max.
Yeah,
a lot of really, really great games.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole you can go down quite far, and then you can get into the disc-based games, which I have a floppy drive to. You can get into the cassette-based games, which I have a cassette that it's pretty fast actually, faster than I thought to load games. But it's cool to be able to play the whole variety. So like if I wanted something, I can just play it, and then you can use emulation too. So the S drive is what is all you might need if you don't want real physical,
I've never heard this, that the 8-bit line cannot do hardware scrolling. I know there are games that scroll, but is it not hardware scrolling?
Not sure.
I
would have to do some research.
If only Tom was still here, he would know.
He would know.
Oh, okay. No, Torque here in the chat says it does do hardware scrolling on the pixel level, both vertical and horizontal. And Jeremiah Thomas says, do you know us Americans got the term soccer from the UK? That is true. The term soccer originates in Britain, and now they get mad at you if you say soccer instead of football, which is a very British thing to do. I used to be married to an English woman.
I want to bring up something real quick that it's 8-bit related. It wasn't one of the original 8-bit computers, but Atari just within the last year and a half, I think it's been, released this. It's called the Atari 400 Mini. And what's cool about it has HDMI output that I have a memory
USB
stick in the back, and then USB-C power. You can plug it, and in the front, it has 4 USB for controllers or keyboards. And the buttons on the front are non-functional. They're just there for aesthetics to look like the original 400.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that I actually haven't applied them yet, but I have a keyboard that I use sometimes when I play around with this, if I'm wanting to program or whatever. They sell stickers that you can put on a standard keyboard that will show you the alternate graphics. I don't know if you know anything about programming, but there's alternate graphics that if like you hold the control button and then a key, instead of printing that letter, it'll print a graphic. And so these stickers you just put on a standard QWERTY keyboard today, and you can use it and know exactly what you're doing by looking at the stickers. So I haven't had a chance to do that. It's a fun fact for you. I just wanted to point that
400
out.
Mini, it's an emulation console.
Yes.
Doesn't take any of the cartridges, but it plays ROMs. And it's actually does a really good job. You can load stuff on. It's not just what's pre-built into it. Keep that model in mind for the announcement that's coming from Atari on Friday. Just keep that model in mind.
I wonder why.
Because I have known for weeks and I have not been able to say it.
We can only speculate, but you're kind of giving us a little hint.
It'll be
But
something
I'm not
in
going to
that
go
vein.
there. We're not going to.
I haven't reported because I haven't had official words, so I can't report it.
Yeah. I'm the same.
I do want to talk about something else because we are 51 minutes, 52 minutes in. One thing that I did back in the day, and I just had the 1010 tape drive, right? Was I subscribed to Compute Magazine, and I would physically type in in Compute Magazine. There would be programs for different computers, like the Apple II, the Commodore 64, and then the Atari 8-bit line. And there would be programs in there that you could type in basic programming and then save them. But the thing of it is, the syntax had to be exactly right. If you didn't know what you were doing, if the syntax wasn't right, the program itself wouldn't work, and you could spend an hour or more trying to type in these programs. But I love doing that. And what's interesting is I found out, I'm looking into it now as far as actually being able to utilize them, but you can actually, there are archives online where you can find these same programs that were in Compute Magazine. I don't know if you guys had ever done that. I'm a little older than you guys, and Compute Magazine was kind of a thing back in those days. But
I've got a lot of those old computer magazines in a box somewhere. Oh, hey, look who popped back on. It says his devices are not connected, but Tom is in the backstage.
Yeah, he might try to get back on here. I'd love to have him on. I'm not sure why he went off, but that's okay. It's usually equipment issue. That's what.
Well, see, he was streaming with an 800 XL. So, I mean, the fact that he was here at all was incredibly impressive.
Oh, I didn't catch that part. Wow, that's even more amazing.
I wanted to add I'm not sure if any of you read the new Compute Magazine that's out because it came out again recently, and one of the writers in there, Rob Shearman, I'm going to do an interview with him this week about Bod Day, which is coming up next week. It's the second Atari Bod Day, and I talked to him recently, like a year ago, when they had a Bod Day for last year. And so it's basically next week, but I'm going to interview him this week, like Friday. And Bod Day starts next week. And that's whenever you connect your 8-bit computer to an Atari 8-bit BBS that still run. And two of those are Southern Amos and The Basement. And both admins are going to be on the channel again this week. But he's a writer or editor inside the new Compute Magazine, which is cool. I didn't know that until today. But I was going to say, I used to always type in programs on my TI-994A from all these books I would buy when I was 7.
Little Texas Instruments.
Yeah, so much fun. Mr. Bojangles, and there were, I still remember the name of them.
I kind of learned how to program in BASIC because of Compute Magazine putting those in, and just, I actually have a book downstairs I meant to bring up about basic programming in Atari Basic. But fun fact for you, I'm a musician, and I have mentioned this on the channel a time or two. But one time I programmed Jump by Van Halen on my Atari. Was that you, Brian, that said you did the same thing?
Yes. Well,
when I
my
told
friend
somebody
Rick
that, and they
did,
said
yeah.
I did the exact same thing. I'm like, really?
My friend Rick did, because he showed me at his house. He has the software that allows you to do that on his 8-bit computer. And there's a program called Jump, and he played it on his computer and on a huge 70-something screen TV. I was like, whoa. So yeah, he showed me that too.
Now for me, I didn't have any extras. I did it just strictly with basic programming language. And so like each chord or note, you would, I believe you could do 4 at one time, 3 or 4 at one time, but each note would have a number value, and then the length of how long that note would play had a certain value. And so I had to figure out the timing of what number I needed. Like if it was a 16th note and it was in what we call like a 120 beats per minute kind of thing, I had to convert it. And then but it was a labor of love, and I don't have it anymore.
The best part about those magazines, though, was waiting a month for the next issue that had the corrections for the code.
Right.
So that you can. And Torque, his first paid programming job was doing a conversion of missile command for a book of type-in games. He was 11 years old, and he made $15.
Wow. Well, you know what? For 11 years old and $15 back in those days was a little bit more than it is now. So
like $50 or something.
Yeah, but it was still something, right?
Yeah.
But
yes, that was in 1981.
Yeah.
So you can do the math, and you can figure out how old Torque is.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little older, but not a whole lot older. But he was old enough.
He's in his 50s.
And Torque, that's right. Torque lives in the US now, but he was born in the UK, so he made 15 pounds.
Oh, okay.
So that's and especially back then, that was probably like $20-25. The pound has typically been higher. In recent years, I'm not sure, but
yeah. Well, you know what? I'm really happy that we were able to talk about the FujiNet directly from Tom, since he's the one who's developed it and sells it. I know he's not back on, and we probably are going to be stopping the show here.
Very soon. But I just have to say that the Canadian dollar isn't that bad. Come on.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, very, very interesting information. If you have an Atari 8-bit and you want to dive into it, Brian and I both have the S Drive Max. But if I didn't know that the FujiNet was a thing until after I'd already purchased it. But if I had to do it over again, I would get the FujiNet instead.
Yes.
Because you can get online with it, you can print with it. And it mimics more drives, and it has the modem, has a built-in network clock. It's just got a lot of really, but everything's on the monitor screen. You don't have the touch screen like you do with the S Drive Max. Everything's on the screen, so you have access and you can see very clearly what you're doing. And so I may still get me one. I'm looking. I told. Yeah.
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, prior to the show, Mike and I were talking, and I told him, I said, I want to get one, but I really don't know if I can justify it. And he's like, that means you'll have one next week.
Yeah.
I'm like that too.
I think one of the most perfect ways to wrap this up is to thank the Atari 8-bit computers for giving us John Champeau's first introduction to programming.
Which, by the way, if I can
And
get
so
off
many
the
others
subject
too. So many others.
for a second, John Champeau is going to be at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. That's this weekend, right? And he's got 2 new games that are going to be available on top of the games that are already available in his store. And one is called Chaotic Grill, which is a port of Burger Time, and then a game called Dino Eggs. And so I am chomping at the bit to get those. I'm thinking about having Casey maybe pick me up a couple things from John and have him ship it to me so I can get it quicker. Because John usually he does put it back. He does put these products on his website, but it's usually a little bit after Portland. And so if I have Casey there, I might be able to, because I think there's some other things I want to get from Atari. So anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Casey quite often picks up stuff for other people.
Yeah, he's a good guy and a good friend of the channel. So
JT says that the 2.5 million sold number seems unexpectedly low compared to what he would expect. A lot of these sales numbers, but a lot of these sales numbers too, you really have to take with a grain of salt. Like people say that the Intellivision only sold like 3 million consoles. It sold way more consoles like that. They just stopped counting after a certain point because it wasn't.
But he's not wrong in the fact that what happened, what Atari did wrong when they made the 8-bit computers is they marketed it as a computer when it was a computer and a gaming console all in one. And had they marketed it that way back then, it would have done some better.
Didn't you?
I disagree.
We talked about that last time. Phil, we talked about that with Pac-Man. If they have the 2600 version, why not then also advertise? If you want to play the real version, buy the computer. And they didn't do that.
When they started really moving the computer thing is when a lot of people in North America thought that video games were a fad that were going. Not necessarily video games, but video game consoles. And that's why, like, you look at the NES, it was the Nintendo Entertainment System. It wasn't the Nintendo video game console. And it had a robot and it had all this other stuff. Like, I think applying our hindsight to their marketing decisions there is probably a little.
You're right. In the way I've looked in the history of this, and the problem is that Warner Communications owned Atari for a long time, and they're the ones that had what was his name? I can't remember. It wasn't Jack Tramiel. They sold. They eventually sold it to Jack Tramiel. But let me see who.
Ray Kazar or
Ray Kazar. He wasn't really a tech guy, and honestly, they didn't. For whatever reason, the budget that they used for advertising, which mainly in those days were commercials on TV, was fairly low compared to what Atari was spending in the early days when they first came out. I mean, you've seen them on YouTube, all these different Atari commercials, but they're all for a lot of the older systems. But once they started getting into the computer stuff, they didn't really do that. And I think that hurt them a little bit too.
Probably. Well, definitely. Torque says he's pretty sure that 2.5 million is just the 400 and 800. He's seen several sets of numbers that have it at a shade over 4 million if you include the others. Still not mega numbers compared to something like the Commodore 64, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
Hey, I like them. We have to mention Alan Alda.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was in. Yeah, he did do that. But I don't remember him. I've seen him since
70s, I think, early 80s.
Yeah. Dad.
But again, they didn't
advertise
it as a gaming computer. They advertised it as just a home computer for learning. It wasn't so much a gaming thing with Alan Alda, if I remember right.
You can do your taxes on it.
Yeah.
And it's because, as Copper Mutant says here, Dad needed to explain he was buying a serious computer to Mom. Hey, we could balance our budget while little Johnny wanted to play games. And let's be honest, Dad wanted to play games too.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that is one of Alden Alda's commercials, because I've seen all of them. was for the touch tablet, and he's actually drawing something on it. So they did try to get him to veer off. And then a couple of times he was with the child and they were playing a game, I think once.
Yeah.
So, but it was mostly learning and education, serious computer, for the family, and that's how my dad thought about it. But he really wanted to play Pac-Man too. He didn't care,
Yeah. Well, and you look at really all the computers that were advertised back then, all the things they may mention video games, but none of them are advertised as video game systems. It's computers were the new thing, and you had to have a computer. I remember we had a Commodore 64. It had its own room and it had a locked door. I was not allowed in there.
Ours was like that too. My mom and dad bought a 2600 and says, "This is a serious family computer. We're going to lock it in our room." Me and my sister would be listening under the door at 3 a.m, and because we heard noises, and they were playing Cubert in there without us. When I think about it now, it's so cute because they were in their 30s or something, right? And I'm like, oh, but back then I was pissed off, and that's my
right.
Come
Come
Yeah,
on,
and then you'd
Mom,
find-
Dad.
And then you'd find your dad's secret disc of like strip poker or something. And,
Yes, After he died, I did it. And in 2019, I found a dirty kind of a porn mag in one of his barbershop bags, probably from the 80s, and I was like, oh my god,
collector's item at this point.
It had
All right,
like Carol Ladd or somebody in it. I can't remember.
Now we're making Bliss uncomfortable, so we should wrap up, I think.
Okay, I got one more quick thing to say. I
right.
missed this. I don't know. John Champeau did mention that 3 new games have been announced, and the other is being announced. Or no, 3 new games. He's announced the 2 that I mentioned, and then one is going to be announced tomorrow. If you want to find out, join Simply Atari on Facebook, because I make sure that I try to post some really serious Atari content on there. Link for that is in the description of the Bliss video, not so much, but just go to Facebook and type in Simply Atari and you'll find it. So I've had a good time. BCB, just because you came in late, after the outro, don't leave us, okay? We want to stay in the green room. We're going to be going dark for just a few seconds and then we'll be back. So anyway, I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate Tom coming in. I appreciate Mike, and I appreciate Ballistic Coffee Boy, our buddy.
Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, no, it's
not as late as BD Retro Mods.
True. True.
All right. So you guys have an awesome week, and we'll see you next time on Retro Bliss Rewind.